I want to talk to everybody about my Graviflyer today. Now, this is my Graviflyer right here. I've been working on it for quite a long time. And a lot of the things isn't in the construction itself. It's just understanding each process and how they work. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to tell you the procedure in order to turn this thing on. I'm going to describe what each part is and what they're doing in the circuit. So let's take a look. This right here is a representation of our Graviflyer. We have our top disc, we have our bottom disc, our magnets are on our bottom disc. The first thing that you want to do when you get your Graviflyer, you're going to turn it on. Top disc is going to run about 1200 RPM. The bottom disc is going to run about 600 RPM. Now, the reason for this is the bottom disc has all the magnets on it, so it's going to take a lot longer for it to come up to speed. It'll kind of chug along, and then about 5 minutes is what it takes for both the discs to get up to speed to where you want them. These are both run on PC fan motors, so there is a max output to each of them. I did not run this on any kind of DC motor other than the fan motor. You can see it right in here. It's the square motor that's right in here, or the square frame I should say, runs the disc. There's a reason I kept it that way. A lot of people change it. I kept it the same way Alexi did, and it's because there's a sympathetic resonance going on in the motors themselves. You see, when this is at 600 RPM, and this is at 1200 RPM, I now have sympathetic resonance between the two. You have to put this thing in sympathetic resonance to start with. That's key number one. Sympathetic resonance has to be established before you move on to step two. Run it for 5 minutes, let the motors get in contact with each other, get the RPM straightened out. It will change the speed of your motors. So, let's move on to the second thing. We're going to put in our DC flyback. For those of you who have never taken one of these apart, this is going to be something new to you. Here's your soft iron core right here. This is the side that goes to your ZVS. This is the side that goes out for your power. Now, the negative is run right here. The positive is run through these. Now here's the trick. Each one of these is a thin layer of film. So basically like a piece of plastic that's run around the actual core. On the inside is a thin layer of copper. On that, because of that thin layer of copper, right through right here, each one of these would put out a different value, but this right here, through all of them, is now rectified. That is our positive. There's our negative. Now, you would think, what's the difference between the two? And it has to do with how your voltage and amps work. You see, positive is going to have a higher voltage, but a lower amperage. Down here, it's going to adjust again. This is going to be more like an AC flyback setup where you're going to get probably close to the same voltage and amperage as what your ZVS puts out after it goes to the switching. That's what you're going to get in your negative. The two are completely different in their outputs. So, becomes important later on how we do things. Just know that this has more volts in it and less amps. This is closer to more understanding than, coming through our ZVS. This particular unit runs at 16 volts, 0.95 amps. Now, here's the thing. Everybody who I've known, including me, right hand in the air, yes, I did it. I did it really bad. I overvolted the living daylights out of this thing. Okay? And it's the wrong way to go. And I absolutely understand why. It's a useful tool to learn. It is very bad to do in practice. You're going to want 16 volts, 0.95 amps. There's a very particular reason for this. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but let's get to how this is put onto our Graviflyer. Positive here goes here. Negative goes here. Now, positive on top, negative on the bottom. Not a problem. This here goes off to a Tesla coil. But not yet. First thing, we're going to get this going. 10 minutes. It has to sit on there. We're not going to bring it all the way up. So, if you want to say, here's our scale, here's our max, here's our start, I'm putting it right there. And I'm putting it right there for 10 minutes. So I'm already in 15 minutes just starting. Now, I'm going to then pull it up to right around right here for an additional 5 minutes. Now, after that 5 minutes, I'm going to go all the way up. Okay? Here's the thing. We already have 20 minutes in, and all we did was turn on our high voltage. We turned on our motors. It's important to follow this step. If you do not, you get spray. That's what will happen to your voltage coming off of this. It sprays right off. What do we want? We want a field. In order to not get the spray, we need to do it in sets to build it up on there. Why? Because we're saturating it. If you try to saturate it too quickly, this is going to spray because it's rotating. A lot of people forget the fact that it's rotating even though they see it, that's what's going on. So we're not looking for the spray, we're looking for saturation. That means we must put in the voltage at slow increments in order to keep it in there in that field. Now, we have a field. Let me tell you what this does if you put it to 20 kV. This right here will create electricity that goes like this. As it swirls, goes down to a point. As this one swirls, goes to a point. It's telling you where it wants to go. It's telling you that it's identifying a single point in the center that it wants to go to. Well, that's pretty interesting. That right there is the first signature of anti-gravity. We have a center point. Now, I go with this voltage here to run this for another reason. The high voltage told me where it was going. High voltage loves to tell you where it's going. That's why I did it. Now I know exactly where it's going and to which point. Now, here comes the fun part. We're off at 20 minutes, right? So we're 20 minutes in. Now I can get to the stuff that I wanted to get to in the first place. I have this right here is my Tesla coil, and I'm going to use a Slayer exciter. Now I have used ZVS Tesla coils. Slayer exciter is self-correcting. That's why in this case I'm going to use it. This goes right down the center and right to the center plate. Now, why is this so important? You see, when you deal with fields like this, you have to know which field you're in. If I told you electricity on a wire ran like this, And I told you that this is my magnetic field. And this is my dielectric, or my volts. Okay? I know it's written like this. That's classic Steinmetz. Please don't misunderstand what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to tell you the way it is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it right there. Right there in the center. My magnetic field is on all sides. I'm going to put it right through the center. There's a reason for this. I am going to move from a normal electric field to a scalar field. We know we need that. We already have our sympathetic resonance in it. I need a scalar field. I need high RF. That's what a scalar field is. It has to do, if I told it to you like this, I have a mountain range, and at every particular spot, I have a frequency, and I have a temperature. I need that in order to make anti-gravity. Therefore, I must pull it out of my Tesla coil because there is nothing else in this design that will give that to me. I now have high RF. How do you know I have high RF? The plate itself is cold. This out here has heat, and it'll burn your finger. This right here shows up on infrared as cold. This shows up as heat. The bend in the plate helps with the heat. The bend in the plate keeps this negative. Now I put this in here. Originally when I put these two on, because these two fields are here, I get a positive and a negative. Now I'm interfering with that positive and negative, and I'm creating a field here. Now, anybody who's worked with Scalar is going to understand this. I need it to be grounded. Why? I want to saturate this plate with RF. When you put it in, it acts differently than these two fields because it's in non-rotation. Now I'm going to need some help to saturate it. I need this to be connected to this into the ground. The way this works is if you took a light bulb here and I connected that light bulb here from this wire into here, I get half the power. If I connect ground into the other side, I now get the full power. That's the way it works. I need the ground initially to saturate this. This right here will now create a field that goes in like this. If you've ever seen Alexi's experiment where he did it with the red light, you'll see this field. And you'll see the temperature differences that I was talking about. These will come off more hot here on the ends, which we expect. The whole disc right here on the outside comes out hot, both sides. This right here only comes out hot on the edges. This right here goes into the field that you're creating. This in here is our scalar energy. We now have it through our Tesla coil. Because I've changed the way it is, I use the Kashmir effect right here to create the scalar field. I have reinforced the Kashmir effect with this plate to a saturation plate now in the center. If you don't know, the Kashmir effect is you put energy on one side, energy on the other, you put something in the center. We both know it goes this way and this way in order to bring them closer together. What you're not understanding is it's forcing the field now to the inside to do exactly the same thing here. So now I'm changing how things are go. So I will not have on this scalar field a magnetic field that you can find. You could put a magnet right up to it. It will not do anything to it. That is why you also must use aluminum. Now, we understand this now. Now we have scalar, we have this. We understand this. We created our here. This should give you an idea of why I put the 8 in here. I'm creating a vortex right here. Creating a vortex right here. I now have a field that rotates this way, a vortex created this way, because I could not take from here and create it going this way. There's one more needed. They took care of it with spinning plates instead of creating the field that goes this way. This naturally creates, this is what I need. Right here. That's why the discs rotate, in order to give me that. I needed that because I did not have it in this. This gave me the one field, it did not give me the secondary field. The rotating disc gave me that secondary field. I now have what I'm looking for. I now have my field. Now I have a bubble. When all of this is on there and all of it's turned on, I now have a field bubble. I cannot get to a field bubble unless every single part of the process is done right. Now, let's get to the understanding of exactly what the piezo is. It is a joule thief circuit. Now, I know this is kind of confusing, so you look and you go, why would you have a joule thief circuit in your piezo? Well, I have it connected to the entire frame of the craft. I now have to take, because this is a transmitter, it's also a receiver. Now I need to connect that to the core inside of this. This right here is in what your ultrasound is made of. It's just a simple joule thief. I need this and this to be together. I need them to have the same frequency going on. That's what I need. This joule thief or ultrasound works only in one spot. Just one. Here's the confusing part about it. Let's see if we can't make some room here. Let's go right here. I am going to get on one side I should have drawn that backwards. Let me change that. On one side of the dial. If I go here, I get a Tesla ring. If I go here, I get a Tesla ring. If I put it in the right spot, it amplifies to both. That is the number one understanding of this joule thief circuit that connects to this piezo. That is your lift factor. That is exactly what you have to have. If you do not create this field bubble, will not get any of these effects. You might as well erase the board and start over. This has to be in there. It will shoot out anything that's not else in there. That doesn't need to be in there. Now, let me tell you something that most people won't figure out. This distance here between your top plate and bottom plate and center plate, it's only going to get you if I drew that correctly, it has to match your frequency. That's what it is. It's distance and frequency that have to match. When you hit your top buzzer right here, puts out a pulse wave that hits this plate here. This plate here may be in the wrong spot. So it adjusts it up and down. As it taps on it, to move it, if it's in this spot here, it says, that's in the wrong spot in order to create our field. We need it in that spot there. If your top and bottom plate aren't set right, this doesn't work. You see, it's a total interconnected thing. Alexa uses something in here of geometry that we never pick up on. If you're going to create it, one triangle on the top creates the vortex this way. I don't know why I keep drawing that wrong. "180 degrees out, it creates a vortex on each side." That's the geometry here. Say, well, I didn't see a triangle. It's funny because I did. And my disc spins just like it's supposed to. This is what you just created inside your triangles. You created your vortex. I created my fields here. This is written in stone all over the world. This is anti-gravity. Every time I see it, I know exactly what it is. It presents just like this. There you go. This device was created with the understanding of geometry and how it works. If I took this and put it in wire form as a coil and followed the same rules, I'm getting the same thing. I'm getting the same fields. I cannot stress to you how important the scalar is. how understanding difference in temperature and difference in each thing goes. And each frequency is a temperature. And I'll describe it to you like this. I took my Rodin coil, connected it to my Tesla coil. Put this down the center, simply ran a wire over here. This creates a field naturally. This is the coils right here. They're counterwound, just like that. It already tells you the field, which I find absolutely hilarious. Anyway, this in here this temperature right here was cooler in the center, hotter on the outside. I created a temperature differential in the center. The energy stays inside of it until the temperature reaches the same as the outside here. This is one of the fundamental parts of your field you have to create. This is why I tell you the field is so important. This will continue to pick up the outside environment. Therefore, ground is no longer needed. It now has a set ground, and it can go up. In the Graviflyer, that is. This right here is more than an understanding of one machine. You have to understand all the concepts that go with it. Now, I say it in plain language. I can use a lot of big terms. I choose not to, because I want you to really grasp what's going on here. Creating vortexing fields. That's what's going on in your Graviflyer. Heats out here. This looks familiar, it should. Russell's scale is right in the center. It creates it just like that. We create, when we do these, different harmonics in it and different octaves. I know a lot of you out there probably don't think a Graviflyer could do that. I would ask you to hook an oscilloscope up next to it, several of them, and check out every single part of it. I guarantee you, if you can line up and understand the harmonics in this and how each one is, they're building a field to go one way. Here's your last understanding. You're going to find a lot of scientists work towards this and never achieve this, but this is a true understanding. I know what static electricity does. I know that I'm not in static electricity. I have to create scalar in this. I took this little paper and I run it on a big plate up here and a small plate here. I put static electricity. It always goes to the big plate. It sucks right up to it. Now, that's only going to get you so much pressure. If I put it on a scale and I looked at it and I said, okay, how much pressure am I getting downward on it? I'm only going to get so much. So you go, okay, well, that's not very much. Why is that useful to know? It's your theory of your ion lifter. You think this creates air to lift it. And if this is small enough in size, it will. But that's not the concept of the lifter. Here is why this becomes important in your Graviflyer. I have to flip this field negative. When this piezo hits, I have to flip this negative. You say, well, why would you have to flip that negative? If all of this in the entire craft is going up, but this goes down, I am now always chasing this, but I can never catch it. I have to flip this field to get this to rise. That's how your ion lifter is supposed to work. Regardless of weight, this is your moving force. Everything else we talked about in the Graviflyer itself is to break gravity. This lifts it. You see, there are two different forces in here. You can't say that they're one because they're not. You're doing two different processes altogether in order to create this. One's lift, one is simply building the thing to break gravity. If you are not in Scalar, you fail. That's as simple as it gets. You fail. You are jumping. And your Slayer exciter self-adjusts. Jumping in your scalar field. You have way too much weight to lift for an iron lifter, so you have to use scalar of the earth to put it in the right area. There's a lot that goes on in this thing, guys. There's a lot to understand in anti-gravity. I can tell you that everything that I've ever seen points to this. We have a north and a south pole in the Graviflyer. We do not have a single pole. Okay, it's not a monopole. It's got both. Therefore, I must be able to push it up. It hovers because it has both. If it didn't have both, it wouldn't. It'd just drop back down or keep going up. Whichever you want to say in your system, based on how you see things working. I'm telling you, this is how it works. This is it. I won't do another video on this until that thing lifts. That's the understanding of the Graviflyer. Every single part of it works in conjunction with the other and cannot be taken out by any means from one to the next. You cannot overpower Scalar. Low energy. Low energy. Not high energy. Because you reverse the field, your magnetic field being out here, and your dielectric field being out here, and you reversed your dielectric to in here. Now you have to work in the reverse scale. I'm not in hot energy anymore, which is basically the room temperature right here. This is hot energy going here. Cold energy or negative energy going right here. Because that's my scale, that's where I'm at, that's my voltages. They're extremely small, and that's the reason why. Guys, I hope you understood that today. I hope you can see it tying into everything that you're doing in the anti-gravity projects. Now, I've taken a lot of time to do this, over a year, in order to understand this Graviflyer. Probably close to 2 years now. Not easy. Everything on it sucks. And it's hard to tell somebody how to start to do this. They always want to see it fly. Well, that's great. I understand that and can appreciate it. I'm going to tell you it's better to understand this thing back and forward than it is to do anything else. There's more in this than you think there is. It creates other fields when you put it in reverse. You'll never learn the understanding of the Tesla coil in reverse if you don't. All of it ties into an understanding of why you use one thing from the next, and every project you do after it will be completely changed, because now you're getting to the next level in understanding. You're putting the physics with the understanding of the building. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and have yourself a great day. Thank you. Before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys know that I offer memberships on my channel now. It's a really cool thing. I do behind the scenes stuff. I give you more information. I also put things out early on it. All of my Fringe Think Tank Star Trek episodes will be on there. I just put out another one, a number 7 episode. Also, you're going to get emojis on there that you can use in the live chats. They're pretty cool. And as we grow our membership, I'll be able to put more emojis out there. Just a fun way to liven up the chat a little bit. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and have yourself a great day. Thank you very much.